Hello there, Hero Club. I'm Wheelchair21, one of the co-founders and co-owners of the website hero-club.com. And joining me for this interview is actually one of the co-stars of Famish, one of the stars of Digimon Season 2, a also star of Naruto. It is Brian Donovan.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Oh, wait a minute. This meeting is being recorded. Okay.
Yeah, just verifying with you that it's going on so we get
Yeah.
this
Hey,
thing going.
guys. Billy, Wheelz,
Yep.
thank you for having me. And everybody who's listening, watching, thank you very much. Thanks for following the shows and maybe watching the films. Super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for giving us this time. I know you don't do many interviews except at cons or in person.
Yeah.
So just doing this is, really big get for us, or a huge experience in a sense, because you've done like two classic anime titles in America, and you're good friends with a friend of the site now, Jeff Nimoy. So it's a cool thing that this even got to happen in the first place.
Well, it's true. And, I'm a big believer in tossing pebbles in the pond and watching those ripples go out and out and out. And it's nice to see when that happens too and be the recipient of that. But, you reached out to Jeff, interviewed Jeff, and Jeff Nimoy and I know each other very well for a very long time, 25 years. And then that ripple found me, and I'm sure hopefully this will find people, and that'll carry on and on and on, which is kind of cool, pretty magical.
Yeah, no, it's great because today I usually don't tell people that I'm interviewing people. I keep it a surprise. And then I was like, so everyone was talking about Jetix and watching stuff.
Oh,
And so I was like, I'm interviewing one of the voices of Jetix. And they were like, wait, what? He's Rock Lee? Like, no one clicked that you're the voice of Jetix.
no, it's true. And it's funny because the few interviews I have done, I don't think I've ever talked about Jetix. No one brings it up. No one knew it was me. And yeah, I was the voice of Jetix for about 5 years. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
I think you
Um,
were like the go-to voice for like its first 5 or 7 years because they just kept cycling whatever you had recorded for
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was fun too because I mean, at one point I was promoting some of my own shows, which was really fun. Especially, I actually did some Fox Kids stuff too, very long ago, and I
Yeah.
was promoting for Fox Kids. So it was coming up next on Digimon, and then of course I'm on Digimon, so that was kind of a kick.
Yeah, because I'll try to do this in a chronological order, obviously, of like what happened. Because like usually when we start interviews, we always want to just ask our actors or writers or staff or people who just done the entertainment industry, like, what was the inspiration for you? Was it just being a theater kid, or was it just watching movies?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, I wasn't like a crazy theater kid. I mean, because there's the theater kids. They live and breathe it, and then there was someone that enjoys it, like me. So I did a bunch of musicals and plays in high school, and a little bit in elementary school and middle school and stuff. But and then a few in college. But I think for me, yeah, it was a love of movies for sure. My little sister, who I made a movie about, Kelly, her and I were very we'd like to entertain each other growing up. So that was a big thing. And we were, it's unconditional love, lots of, you're awesome. And so, which is great. I mean, it's kind of amazing to have like a cheerleader by your side growing up. And so that my sister and I were that for each other. And then when I got to college, it was probably the tipping point. I did a couple plays, but I was also a DJ on the radio station at college. And that was a big kind of turning point, tipping point for me because I was on the air for 4 years and had a great time. Obviously, got very good at the mic, and because it's very different than acting. Working on the mic is, it's just you and a mic and an empty room usually. So I got my chops, pretty wet then and there, and that's when I delivered a car out to Los Angeles in 1990. So that was kind of the stepping stones for me. And then I got an agent, did my first radio commercial, and then that led to a campaign for Shakey's, which I don't know if you have them where you are, but it's kind of
No,
like
I
a
know of them.
pizza. Yeah, so Shakey's. So I did all their radio and TV, and then I just kind of climbed the ladder slowly but surely, and that led to anime, which is pretty much why we're talking. And that was in 1998. I got my first anime show called Flint the Time Detective, which is a very little known anime property, but it
It's
was fun. I
so
think
weird because people consider it lost media because there was no Western home video release.
yeah.
So people consider it like loose lost media.
Yeah, no, it's true. And a lot of people, just like Jetix, it doesn't come up very often at all. Every once in a while, I'll be at a Comic Con and be like, Flint the Time Detective, Tony Goodwin. And I'm like, whoa, you know? And those are always fun because, you know, those are true fans that have done a deep dive. Anyway, that team went on to do Digimon, and that I went on to do Digimon season 2, as you mentioned. And then some of that team went on to do Naruto and asked me to audition for a few Rock Lee, really Rock Lee, because they were having trouble casting Rock Lee, and said, "Hey, I think you'd be great at this. You want to give it a try?" And that the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, because what was interesting was when I was looking at your filmography again and getting to like make sure I didn't miss any animes that were obscure that I may have watched. What I noticed was you, like you said, you were kind of a journeyman because you did a lot of like guest roles in soap operas, primetime dramas, and what's funny is it never really clicked with me because I think I seen it so young. But when it said you were in 90210, I was like forced to watch that show as a toddler with my aunt who was like in her like 40s already, like 40.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She got really into it. She watched it, and like it wasn't until like I was reading, I'm like Rusty, and then I'm reading who your character was, and it said like you were brought in as like a red herring for a sub arc where I believe Tori Spelling's character had a
Yeah, I was being
stalker.
stalked.
Now, were you just brought in for that red herring, or was there ever talks for you to like actually join the cast reoccurring for later
No,
episodes?
no, I was cast as the red herring. I was cast as Rusty. I knew it was like a 5 episode arc. And yeah, and it was a blast. I mean, I have to say, the nice thing about a show that had been on for a few years at that point, it's such a finely tuned machine. Like, it really was kind of cool to watch. The actors were finely tuned, the crew was finely tuned, and so you kind of had to know your stuff. And everybody's pretty gracious, including Tori Spelling, who, you know, had a bad reputation to some degree. For me personally, she was very, very sweet. They all were, the ones that I interacted with. And so, you know, sidebar, I judge from my personal interactions, you know, because there's a lot of rumors and a lot of
Yeah.
gossip and a lot of toxicity in Hollywood, as you can imagine. And, you know, so, you know, I just went in with a clean slate and just interacted with them fresh, gave them the benefit of the doubt. And they were all very sweet to me. It was a fun experience. It was really cool.
All right. Yeah, because also it said when I was looking at it, I was wondering, did being a I guess you say audiobook narrator, was that also how you got into Fox Kids, or was that not it? Because I know you did a bunch of Goosebumps and they had the TV show on Fox Kids, but I'm guessing that was just
Yeah.
two different things, right?
No, yeah, two different things. No, no overlap there. I mean, like I said, the ones that overlapped with, you know, the Flint to Digimon to Naruto, a little overlap, a little bit. But the promos and the audiobooks, totally separate, totally separate. Sometimes there's synergy and some, you know, that one thing leads to another, but they're kind of, you know, Hollywood, like most places, it's very compartmentalized. You know, you got your audiobooks, you got your anime, you got your original, you got, you know, and very infrequently does it bleed, you know, into other things.
All right. Yeah, because obviously, like you said, Flint got into Digimon and that. And were you surprised that from Flint, where you were a main, you were a part of the main ensemble cast, was it different when you knew like this is your second real like anime role that you're now the essential pro tag? Like Davis is the team leader, he is the focus, and you and Derek Stephen Prince are, the guys we're supposed to follow. You're this season's tie, obviously. Like,
Yeah, yeah. You know, look, getting Digimon was awesome. I didn't know anime very well at all prior to that. So, and even with Flint, you know, it didn't last that long. So I didn't really get into the genre. Like, oh my god, anime is amazing. Like, I gotta. Um, but what was cool is when I was up for Digimon and auditioned for Digimon, it was already on for a year and it was a big hit. So I knew when I got it, it was thrilling because it was a hit already. And I was also a little nervous because I didn't want to blow it. Like, I didn't want the whole second season to go, you know, and explode. So, you know, nerves, exciting. And then people knew Digimon. Like, no one really knew Flint the Time Detective. It was obscure enough where, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this show, Flint the Time Detective. And I'd be like, what? What's that? You know, but with Digimon, although I will say, funny enough, that when I said Digimon, everyone said Pokemon. I was like, no, Digimon. You know, so there was some of that too. It was like, it was a little frustrating because everybody knew Pokemon. and some people knew Digimon. That said, the people that are fans of Digimon are super duper fans of Digimon. Like there's, I think there's Pokemon camp and Digimon camp, and I think Digimon's got a lot less fans, obviously, because wasn't on as long and it didn't have that carryover and all that. But the fans that are Digimon fans are fervorish and loyal and awesome, and they will argue to death that Digimon's better than Pokemon. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I'm in that camp of I'm in both, and I'm like, Pokemon is great because of its long-lasting ability to keep an anime, card game going, keep media out there. But Digimon always felt cooler to some people because it was that the monsters, yes, they do talk, which is a little weird to somebody, but the idea was, at least in the first series, the Digimon is like sort of a foil to your character that makes them mature into an adult or a teenager in a sense. It gives them like that early steps of adulthood or puberty.
Yeah.
So you learn from them in a sense.
I think that's it. A lot of people say that when they say, "Oh, I'm Digimon all the way." I think they really appreciate the story and some of the development there. But fans are funny that way. Like, you just never know. Like I ask everybody that comes up to my table at cons, like, "What's your favorite anime?" I'm just curious. I don't want them to say Naruto just because I'm standing there at Digimon. And most are very honest, and they'll say, and it's cool because it really. I mean, you always get the top five, right? You always get the Dragon Balls or Naruto and some of the newer ones now, the big hits, but there's also some people that just love these really obscure properties, and it's super cool. They somehow found them. It really resonated with them for whatever reason, and so I love that. I love just kind of that really eclectic kaleidoscope of love, and that's art, right? I mean, that's the beauty of art. It's like everyone's got their thing, and there's obviously some things that rise to the top, and they have a universal theme that a lot of people love. But yeah, it's really cool to hear all the different titles.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
And what's incredible too, when I was talking to Jeff, we were telling him how me and my co-host that did the Jeff interview, we were like, "Oh, we love the seasons you worked on, Jeff. We love seasons 1, 2, and we love 1, 2, and 3, even though he didn't work on 3. And we love 4. We love 5." And then like we have like mixed reactions for like some of the later seasons. Like we like Ghost Game and we liked Appmon, which were just sub only, but we still enjoyed them. And Jeff was like, "Oh, what's your favorite of Digimon?" We were like, "Technically, it's like between 5, 4, and 2." And he was like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, 5, 4, and 2 are like our go-tos. And I told Jeff I love 2 and 5 probably both sub and dub. Like both shows are like good shows when you watch them sub and dub. I love it. I really love. Well, one thing I think your season is one of the reasons why I love your season the most is it had all the Jeremy Sweet and I think Paul Gordon music. Like they kept making insert songs after insert songs, so it wasn't just "Hey Digimon" or
yeah.
Like you guys had different tracks to accompany the fights, and some of those bled over from the later half of season 1. But you guys had like a bunch that they were just like throw it on the movie album.
Yeah. Did you see the movie last year that came out? That season 2 movie?
No, I didn't get to see it in theaters, and I've still wanted to see it, but I don't think it's on streaming yet, and I just hadn't had the time to buy it on home video because I was strapped last year because I was replacing my actual wheelchair for a new one. So I was going through.
Yeah, that cost a couple bucks.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, when we talked to Jeff, this was a question we had, but you might have your own case of it. When you guys were recording, do you have any favorite like improv moments or outtakes when voicing Davis? Because I'm pretty sure there's got to be one that sticks in your mind, like, "Oh, we had to record this one all over."
I don't remember that many specifically, but I will tell you, and I won't say any out loud, but I will tell you that we always, and I always do, especially with Rock Lee and Guy Sensei, but I always think an Adult Swim version of all those shows would be super funny because there's so many innuendos and so many like things that could be taken a million different ways, usually sexually or some like some crazy thing. And so there's a lot of laughs and giggles, and we will fill in the the lip sync for an adult version of stuff like that. And especially I mean, this sounds disgusting and gross, but when it's a kid's show, it's an added chuckle and laugh, right? Because it's so taboo and horrible.
Yes.
I will admit. but it's just funny. I mean, you know, so yeah, there's a lot of that silliness going on. And I mean, not a lot, but I'd say every session there's one innuendo, and then you'll say it a different way, or you'll fill in different words, or you'll, you know, that kind of thing. So but yeah, it's cool. And Jeff is very funny, as you know, especially as a writer. And he's very serious, like he's a very hard worker. Like when we were recording, like he was all business, but then if we got ahead and we had some extra time, then, you know, he'd loosen up, we'd loosen up, and we'd have like a good old time, and just be silly, and, you know, sing songs of the era and whatever, and just, you know, like I said, just fill in like silly little syncs and stuff. But, you know, when I first started with Jeff and Digimon, they didn't have Pro Tools like they have Pro Tools now, where you can just slide things around, and they're like, yeah, give us a second, and they move it around. Like back in the day, you really had to kind of land it. And you know, if it was off a little bit, it really wouldn't work. And so you'd end up doing a lot more takes of stuff just to get it in the pocket. You know, and because that was 99,
Yeah,
2000.
99,
And
2000. Yep.
yeah, so you had to be pretty that excuse me, you had to be pretty like dead on. And so it just took a lot more time, and there was a little more, it was a little more serious business, you know, whereas later years of Naruto, you could slide things around so much that if you just got the intention and the line kind of in the pocket, they could squeeze or expand a little bit. And so that was great as an actor, because it just kind of freed you up a lot more.
Yeah. So with Digimon, right? When you're done with season 2, were you surprised when they kept asking you for like seasons like 3 and 4 to be like one of the, hey, here's what happened next time, and like purposely like they would have you say it in the Davis, like your natural like Davis kind of voice, even though you weren't in the show?
Yeah. I mean, it was a cool idea. They were like, hey, you know, do you want to narrate, you know, season 3? We think it'd be a nice kind of, you know, bleed into, you know, 2 to 3. And, you know, work, you know. And I was like, cool. And then of course I was a part of it, which was nice. Frankly, I was a little bummed that Davis wasn't in 3. You know, like I, I think all of us, I mean, that was the pitfalls of doing Digimon, right? It was season 1, not everybody went away, but a lot of people went away. And then season 2, and a lot of people went away. And so there wasn't a lot of bleed over. And I was like, oh, that's kind of blows, you know, it'd be fun if Davis made an appearance every once in a while, but it was just the narration. But it was cool because it was work. And it also got me on those shows, or that season, or at least a presence. And, you know, people like that season come.
I think there's a net issue right now. Hold on.
Yeah, grateful, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there was a net issue you were saying.
Were you able to hear me?
I was able to hear you, but it like froze and like silenced you for a second. So
Oh yeah. So I was just saying that, yeah, it was great. I was surprised, but also very grateful, you know, because work is work, and it was nice to be a part of that 3rd season, even though Davis wasn't technically, you know, one of the kids.
Yeah, because season 3 I know is a popular season. I've enjoyed it in the past and that. And so like it was just always weird as a kid watching, and like you're narrating 3 and then you narrated some of 4. So it was just always so funny though, because those seasons started doing similar to like other Japanese like mediums, where it's like, oh no, we're doing multiverse stuff. It's different. This is a whole different continuity. It's not gonna keep going into the same show. So it was always just funny how the American side still wanted to make it feel like there was a continuity, or at least like you all still existed, even though it's a new timeline. It's a reset.
Yeah. No, it's true. Well, and look what happened to the multiverse, right? Now it's blown up and everything's multiverse.
Yeah, and
so maybe they're ahead of their time.
It's funny too, because there's an episode of Cross Wars that I'm pretty sure fans tell you about, where all of the characters come in for like the anniversary, where the multiverse is opened up and all the pro tags are there working.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that never got really dubbed, because it would have been really interesting to see a Cross Wars. You know how they did having Davis, TaJa, and all the others.
Yeah, that would have been great. And, you know, I was so grateful that they did the film last year, just to revisit Davis and and then do him as a 20-year-old. And like, that was super cool. But I'd love to keep doing Davis. I'd love, even if it's a sprinkling here and there. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. But yeah, you know, time moves on, and, you know, who knows? But though, you know, thank God, Digimon's a very popular show, a legacy show, as you said, and Naruto is the same, which is super cool. I mean, just to be a part of those two really big legacy shows is something for sure.
In regards to like you said, you were in the Digimon Zero Two beginning film. Now, as I've heard on the online, COVID really screwed up your brief cameo in Last Kizuna.
Yeah.
But did you get to watch Kizuna, or have you not seen it yet? And do you have
I have
anything?
not seen Kizuna. It comes up a lot, when people come up to the table and again at cons and those interactions I have, and or they'll read what you just recounted that I didn't have my studio set up at the time and I was having technical difficulties and they just kind of had to figure it out without me because of their timeline. But which is a bummer because I think everybody was fine with it. But it is a bummer because you want the continuity, not only as an actor and a character for the fans, but it is this kind of gap that always kind of comes up. And it's just kind of a bummer that I wasn't able to do it. But at the same time, someone else got the work and he did a great job and, you carry on. But it was great coming full circle and doing the beginnings, for sure.
Yeah, because other than that, you also were brought back to do the recent Discotek new dubs to be more faithful. What was it like doing that?
That was friggin' awesome. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do those either, and then it worked out. And so, again, that was a cool year because it was the beginnings, which was great, and then it was these new dubs, and it was just fun because for about 4 months I was back in Digimon land, and I was back at Davis, and those were like Davis young, the original stuff. And then 20-year-old Davis for the film. And I just was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I hadn't done Davis's voice, I mean, except at Comic-Cons and interviews and whatever, but I hadn't worked as Davis, in a very long time. And so it was just really, really fun to revisit the franchise and revisit the character. And it was very nostalgic, right? It's
Yeah.
like visiting an old friend.
And what's cool about it too is technically there is talks for Discotek to do the other Digimon movie, so you most likely will be back to do Revenge of Diaboromon for a second time because you guys did
Yes.
do that during the Disney era. You finally dubbed those movies, which was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, I hope that happens. I'm not sure who's doing them. Hopefully, I don't know. Is it Disco? Do you know? I mean, I don't
From what
know.
it's like, from what we assume is like because of how well it's sold, most likely Discotek's gonna go and try to complete their Digimon library that they're now building with their partnership or whatever with Toei with the contracts.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
great.
safely assuming that it has to be that way because, like, also the season one Japanese and English releases of the DVD seasons and season two have been like #1 sellers on Amazon and Crunchyroll. So
Oh,
like,
sweet.
I'm pretty sure you guys are a shoe-in for a more faithful or at least a re-release of whatever you guys did back in like 2005 when you did 4 and then the Tamers movies and the Frontier movie. Because I think you were also in one of the Frontier movies, right? As like Takato's cousin, I think.
Yeah, I was good. Jeez, you're good, dude. Yeah. As Kai. Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. I mean, Discotek was awesome to work with. And the woman who directed me is like a true fan and knows everything. Like, it was wild. I was like, oh my god, she was. At times I felt like she was talking a foreign language because I didn't remember half the stuff. It had been so long. But yeah, she was awesome. So hopefully that works out again. I would love to do more Davis as mentioned, but we'll see.
All right. Now before I guess we do a little before we go into Naruto and like Rock Lee stuff, we did talk a bit more about Jetix earlier, bringing it back up. When you got the Jetix role, like, do you recall if other people were running against you for that narration, or did they just go, "Hey, we want you to do"?
Oh, no. Yeah, there was a lot of competition for that. That was a huge gig and a big campaign, and Disney's baby. They were trying this out, this whole new branding with JetX, and oh yeah, no, I fought for it hard. I mean, I started against probably 100 people, maybe more. I don't even know. And then I got back to a second callback, and that whittled it down to I don't know how many, 20 maybe, and then a third callback, and it was three of us. And I remember going to the studio with all the Disney people, and me and two others were in the lobby. One guy I knew really well, and another guy I knew of, and we all went in, and one kid was first. I was second, and I was in there for probably 20 minutes, knocking out different versions of all these promos and stuff. And I don't know, 3 days later, maybe they said, "Hey, we want to check Brian's availability because we're going to roll with these pretty soon, and it's going to be, a real commitment. He's got to be around for the year." And I said, "I'm in, if it comes my way." And sure enough, 3 days later, they locked it up, signed contracts, and I did the rest. I don't know, I did a little over 5 years, I think, and
Yeah, it was a good minute. Like I remember, I could have swore it was a little longer than that because especially like how some of the bumpers seemed like it was easy because they didn't really change up. They didn't have a lot of new programming for like the first couple of years. It was just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
new
that's right.
season Power Rangers, new season, but the rest was like already in the lineup of we're just resyndicating Gargoyle, we're resyndicating what we got from Saban. We're
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
doing that because obviously a lot of the jargon you had to do was probably like easy takes, right? Like was it just simple doing a whole channel or was it like kind of ridiculous when they keep telling you different time zones or time areas that you have to do it
Yeah,
for?
I mean, promos are funny that way. I mean, it's a great gig. They call it the golden leash because it's such a great gig. But you're also on a short leash, right? I mean, you get paid to be available. 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Sometimes, weekend. You just don't really know. Mostly for me, it was Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And they're awesome. Like it meets my sensibilities, my personality, and also my energy. So it's like coming up next, and we'll be right back. It's just like it was great. But to your point, it was very tedious when you had to run through like 5 pages of, coming up next at 5, 6 central, whatever. Coming up next at 6, 6 now. And it was just like this super long list. And it was like redundant. Just changing times or a one word. And it was like, woof, like page 5, you're cooked, you're burnt. But no complaints. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was it was an amazing gig. It was super awesome, super fun. Those days were maybe once a week, where it was like, spitting out all those time zones and all of that. So yeah, no complaints. It was a great gig. I love that gig. I wish I still had that gig. But yeah, it was yeah, I don't know, 5.5, 6 years, maybe. Yeah, I'm not even sure.
yeah, because
Let's
like
go
I
with six.
remember like hearing your voice, like I would just turn it on, and like I think your voice was even there when like they'd be like it's Toon Disney, and then it'd be Jetix at night because it was like it was weird.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I don't know if I did Toon Disney right away, but there was definitely a lot of Toon Disney stuff too.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it was like in the AM, it was like from 8 a.m. to like 6 a.m. It was Toon Disney, but then like at night it was Jetix, or if you were in certain international stations that broadcast in English, one would be like
yeah, yeah,
Jetix channel exclusively Jetix, where it was just you as the voice. I think like in UK it was like that. I think I could be
yeah.
wrong.
No, no, that's right. Yeah, it was a great gig, man. It really was. I mean, sadly, that'll be. I think I ended that in 2008, which is super crazy to. Yeah, I can't even believe it's been that much time.
Yeah,
Um,
because I'm assuming like also you had to do like a lot of the promos that weren't even just like you said the timestamps. Like they would be like, oh, because like I know some shows, like I know when Power Rangers was on, instead of it would be like a new season trailer, they would get like this like actual like movie esque kind of guy to be like a new power, a news, and then you're like, yeah, check it out, coming this like fall on Toon Disney or Jetix, you would say, and then it would just go to like some like typical movie esque like narrator promoting it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was fun because we did a lot of different stuff, and I don't have a huge range, but every once in a while we do seasonal stuff too. And you'd have to be the Santa Claus or the whatever, the Goblin
Yeah.
for Halloween, and so there was some fun stuff for sure. And all the producers were really great. There was a team. I don't know, in those 6 years, I probably worked with maybe 10 to 12 different producers, and they all had their kind of sensibilities and their the fun things they'd like to try or do. And yeah, it was really fun. It was a good gig.
All right. And so, when it comes to obviously Naruto, Rock Lee is probably one of the most popular characters in the show that isn't Naruto or Sasuke. Like it's pretty much he is like I think he's usually like the third running at least in the West. I know overseas it's usually Itachi or Kakashi and that, but like, what's it feel like knowing like going in when you got cast as Rock Lee? were you at least this point aware of how like the international fan subbing or fan like listeners were? Like, did you know like by the community that this role was going to be big for you, or did you not know until like it started airing?
No, no one knew, man. I mean, and if anybody tells you they knew, they're lying. I mean, we knew we knew it was popular in Japan, and for that show, I came into the second season also, but it hadn't really. I don't think it had aired yet, and so we didn't really know. But it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't until probably a year or two into recording where you started to see the shirts and Naruto on a shirt or Naruto on some swag, and you're like, oh, that's the show I do. Oh, cool. And then you started seeing more of it, and you're like, oh, wow. And so it was a slow kind of burn, and then when it tipped, it was like, holy mackerel, like this is a bona fide hit. But honestly, we're getting more love now, I would say, post pandemic than we ever did in real time. I think there's an explosion at Comic Cons. There's an explosion of anime, obviously. There's, the pandemic, everybody was home. Everybody like got reintroduced to it because it was on Netflix. So there was a whole other generation. So now like at Comic Cons, you'll get the first generation, the 30 to 40 year olds. And then you'll get their kids or their grandparents or whatever. So the pandemic really shifted things, especially for us in Naruto and some of those legacy shows. Because I'll have a lot of people come up to me and I was like, when did you discover Naruto? Was you watching real time or no, during the pandemic? And I was like, oh, all right, there you go. So that was like floodgate number two. But yeah, I didn't know, man. And of course, I was at a weird time in my life too, because I'm 58. So I started Naruto when I was 30, I mean, how old? Almost 20 years. Yeah, 38. So I was older and I wasn't watching a lot of stuff. I just didn't have time. Like I didn't watch any TV. I mean, I think the last show I've seen in its entirety was MASH, like maybe, well, Breaking Bad is probably a more contemporary show, but I mean, very few shows. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't have time for a lot of TV. So I just didn't know, I didn't really know until we started seeing a lot of paraphernalia. Or if I mentioned it, for a long time, people are like, what'd you just say? Naruto, now. And still people can't pronounce it right, but whatever. But yeah, it wasn't until I started doing Comic Cons, really, and Geek Con for Famous, Jeff Nimoy's film that I was in, and that I even realized that there was fans that, loved it and wanted my autograph. Like it was like, oh,
like when wow. When I talk to some producers, they're already aware of like the fan subbing community, the people who watch it raw or watch it subbed. And so like when I've talked to certain dubbers and producers who've been in the game, even like back from the 80s, like Tony Oliver, when I talked to him one time, he was trying to dance around to figure out what type of fan I was when talking about like Naruto and Bleach and stuff. So like I was like, oh, I can't wait to see your fight with Ukiura. He goes, oh, okay, then I don't have to worry about spoiling the next episodes. I'm like, no, I already know like you get bodied, bro. So I'm like, I know. Because like I assume like some voice actors, some obviously, producers, they know, but not probably everyone on cast knows like this is the breakout star, this is what I need to be trying to get, obviously. Like you said, I would assume like especially in that era, this is before anime really fully cemented itself in at least Western society, because it was there, but you were still clowned on it until like right around the pandemic or so, like the last.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. And some of the leads, obviously Naruto, Miley Flanagan's been on the circuit for a long time, and I used to hear her, about her going to Comic Cons, and but it was like Sasuke and Naruto, it was like the top three, right? But again, I didn't really know how popular Rock Lee was until I started doing Comic Cons. I didn't realize that he was, I don't know if I'm in the top three, but I didn't. I'd say.
I'd say when it first started, he was like when it first started, it was like he was there. If it wasn't like that, but then as the years have gone on, more characters or character arcs.
Yeah, exactly. And once you dipped into Shippuden, Rock Lee kind of tapers off a little bit. So but I think I'm in the top 10 for sure, and it's great. But yeah, we had no idea. Right. No idea. No one knew that this was going to be the success that it was. None of us. We still can't believe it. That we're on the circuit, that people want our autograph. Like, yeah, it's kooky. It's wild.
All right. And we're getting into like obviously indie stuff with Famous and stuff like that. One question I just gotta have is I discovered you did a children's fitness like kind of activity show for YouTube. Was that a
Yeah.
pitch pilot, or was that a series you really wanted to keep doing and it just was hard to manage? What was
Yeah, I wrote the pilot. It's
plan?
called Mighty Meat Training Camp, and it's all about, finding the superhero in you, like that we all have this superhero power. And I was kind of tired of watching, people or kids just stare at the TV, and I was kind of tired of, people thinking they needed a cape to be a superhero or fly to be a superhero. No, we can be superheroes every day with the best we got. And that was kind of the idea of it. Was just that we have a little Mighty Me inside next to our heart, and if Mighty Me, if you need help, Mighty Me's there, and just be your best self and be a good person, and that's a superhero, right? And so that's kind of the premise of it. But yeah, I wrote it, created it, shot it, produced it. Like, I wore all the hats, most of them. And then it got bought by a company. The pilot did, and then went to Discovery Education. It's kind of where it streamed initially, and then someone leased it or licensed it from me to do YouTube, to get it on YouTube, which is where you saw it. But yeah, it was a blast. I mean, it had a nice splash. It never, yeah. I mean, to your question, yeah, I would have loved to have gone series and tip and done that. I was a big believer in, obviously, the messaging of it. I love kids, and I was the host, and I made it for all the things that I wanted to share, and the messaging that I wanted, which is that we're all here for a reason, and we all have something to offer, and just be your best self, and you can be a hero, and but it didn't tip, unfortunately. I think had I created it now with social media and being able to promote it myself and all of that, it might have tipped. But it was just a different era where there was just a few gatekeepers, and it just didn't tip, unfortunately. And I didn't have enough money to finance a season, or an episode two. Like, I put it all on the line for that one pilot. And but it was fun. A lot of kids, friends of mine, their kids would be like, do they have Mighty Me Underoos? And like, so I thought, when a kid asked for a Mighty Me Underoo, I was like, I've made it. That's good. I'm good.
So to wrap up our interview, we just have a couple of famous questions for you. When we were talking with Jeff, he said when he first came up with the idea and was asking other voice actors to be in the project, not many people wanted to do it. They were hesitant because they were afraid it would ruin their image. Were you immediately gung ho for this, or were you like asking Jeff like reassurance on the project since he wanted to make it more Crash?
Yeah, I mean, I come from the school of improv of yes and, you say yes and dot dot dot, you see what happens. I always love to play. I always love to perform and act, and for me, it's experiential. I didn't see. And look, I don't say yes and everything. I have a code, a moral code. I have values that I try to instill in the world and in myself. So I do have a line. I do have boundaries, and my line is pretty clear as far as what I say yes to. That said, yeah, I guess it crossed my mind. I was like, I'm a dick in this. I am an antagonist through and through. Um, is that gonna work for me? And I was like, I guess. I mean, it's still fun. And at the time, I hadn't done a Comic-Con before, so it wasn't like I was on the circuit and I was like, Brian Donovan known as. But I know who I am. I know that I'm a good person. I know that it's acting. If someone saw the film was like, oh my God, Brian Donovan's a dick, then I guess they don't know that I'm acting, But I think anybody that's ever seen me at a Comic-Con or knows me at a Comic-Con, has met me at a Comic-Con, will say that I'm a very nice person. So for me, it was just yes and let's play. Again, maybe if I'd been on the circuit and the Comic-Cons and I was like, oh, how's this gonna play with that? And I don't know. But I guess, sometimes ignorance is bliss, because I didn't really know. And I didn't really think about it. I mean, I just thought, oh, this would be fun, and I'd never been to Madison. I'd never been to a Comic-Con. He said, we're going to shoot at a live Comic-Con. So I was like, oh, that'll be cool. That'll be fun. So yeah. And, Jeff and I go way back, and he played the card, he asked for the favor, and I said, yeah, let's go play.
Okay.
And
So
that was it.
So when you got it, you already knew you were going to be like the antagonist. You were going to like be the one pushing his buttons, the more seniored, like
Yeah.
kind circuit
He
guy.
was very clear. He was very clear about it. He's like, look, you're gonna play kind of a dick version of you, and I have to use your real name because we're gonna be shooting at a Comic-Con. It'd just be a lot easier if
It's
everybody's
yeah,
the name.
it's all satirical. It's more of a
Yeah,
it's Brian Donovan playing Brian Donovan or playing himself, kind of. Yeah, no, uh, because like when watching it, like you played it perfectly though, where it was like I'm gonna be this because like anytime you're on actually going fuck Jeff, like that, like that's our favorite soundbite. We used it in his interview. We asked him, can we use that when we're like talking? Like, so when we went to like talking about you, we put the clip in. We did the part where like we introduced the movie, and we really enjoyed the dynamic you guys had. We also enjoyed the dynamic that him and Lex had because like
yeah.
it was you were an antagonist, and then technically he triggered Lex in the movie, so it was hilarious. You guys like just went all out there. Were you like were you surprised at some of the stuff in the script, or were you just like, oh, this is just funny, so let's just keep going?
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of just, I just went like, I mean, the thing is, like, once you commit, like, I don't back away from a commitment. I said I'm going to do the film. I read the script. I had some notes and I had some ideas, and especially in editing, like I was pretty involved in editing. And even the script, it was very long originally, not very long, but it was longer. And originally the edit was long. The first cut was long. So I gave notes about that. But when you're on set, like I don't want to be the troublemaker, the guy that's like, oh, I'm not doing that, whatever. I was just like, look, we're all having fun. We know what this is. I knew that I signed on to be the dick, so like it was what it was. I mean, that's my role. I mean, that's what he wrote. That's what he needed, and I played it with the best I could. And again, it was really fun because it was at a live Comic-Con. I'd never done one before, so for me, it was very experiential. It was like, wow, I get to act. I'm in a movie. I'm on location, and I'm at a Comic-Con, which I've never done before. So it was like boom, 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 fun. Yeah.
So would you do it again? Since he did tell me in the interview that he would love to do a sequel, would you love to be that version of you, your fictionalized version of you again for him, or would you want to
Yeah, I
stay?
mean, I wouldn't say necessarily say no, but I also don't sign on blindly. Like I would
Yeah,
have to see the script, and I'd have to see what his take on it was and what he was thinking. I don't know if it would work, as me as the lead antagonist again necessarily. I mean, unless he came up with something very creative, like, oh, this is how we can bring us back, um, but yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I don't suggest things blindly, but if I thought the script was fun and we were to do it, I mean, I didn't really get the traction that I think he had hoped, or
yeah,
and I had hoped. Like I thought it could be kind of funny playing at Comic Cons, but it didn't really hook like that. So I don't really know what his intention is necessarily. And I know he would have liked the film to have done better, and I think he thought it would play at Comic Cons, as a satirical kind of fun, gag on cons, and it didn't really take off that way. So I don't know. I think
yeah.
some of us thought, oh, it could be a Rocky Horror Picture Show for cons, like everybody goes and you participate and you yell and scream at lines, and real interactive that way. But it didn't. So I don't know. Maybe it will someday. Maybe enough people will unearth it and go, oh my God, have you guys seen Famous? And no one's very few people have come up to me at a con saying, oh my God, you were great, or you're a dick, or I didn't think you were so nice, or they don't really reference Famous. So
Yeah.
I don't really know. I just don't know. I don't know how many people have seen it. Or what people even think. No one's been like, oh my God, you're so nice, I thought you were a jerk.
Yeah, no, because we only found out about it because we talked to Tom Fawn, who
Oh
then was
yeah.
like, yo, you should watch this movie. And then he was like, oh, Jeff Nimoy will do an interview with you. And then just like, you need to watch my movie. And I'm like, well, we already were watching it. He was like, oh, okay. Like, he didn't know that
Yeah.
they told us about the movie. So we were like doing it for homework. And we even in the interview, I don't know if you've watched it yet with him, but in the interview, we were like, if you put the movie maybe on a Sunday or a preview night, you have better chances of it not colliding with the bigger
Yeah.
announcements.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's got to be on a sleepier side of the con, I think, and as an alt to something to do, or like Sunday as things unwind, and um, you know, Yeah, I don't know. And it would be interesting to play it at a con, free to make it an event and just kind of see what the reaction is because
Exactly.
like everything, it's word of mouth, and we just never got that. He never got the tipping point of word of mouth, so I don't know if there's room for it to come back and have a glory day someday of like, woo, people are discovering it.
Well,
But
I
it
think
would be
the key is
interesting
the
just
Digimon
to
fans. We got to
what
get the Digimon fans aware, and
got it.
then it'll
Yeah,
get bigger.
yeah, got to get the Digimon fans. And I don't know, it would be really interesting to see it with 100 or 200 people and just get a real true objective reaction because there was a screening out here that he did a premiere night. It was fun, it was great, but, it was a lot of friends who thought it was fun, and so it was hard to go, okay, what would 200 con attendees
Mhm.
think of this film? I honestly don't know. I really don't. I'd like to think they would get the satire and the funniness of it and laugh where it's funny and whatever, but I just don't know. I
Yeah,
really don't.
because I think it's a really well shotgun like indie film. You guys literally did guerrilla filming as they call it, where you guys just went in, you asked the con venue, hey, can we do this and this? Where can we
Yeah.
shoot? And you guys made a movie. That's more than like half the people I ever see do. Hell, half what I've ever done. So I
Well,
think it
it
was
really is. I mean, it's an incredible accomplishment. I've done a few productions, and it's not easy at all. And to get, I mean, it's a lot of people have ideas, and then that's as far as it gets. A lot of people have ideas and start shooting stuff, and then they abandon. Because really getting over that hump, certainly for anything worth pursuing or creative endeavors, it's like it's just insurmountable mountain at times where you're just like you're climbing, you're just and everybody's got the dream. I mean, everyone's got the dream, right? They're write a book, make a movie, whatever. But it's just keep climbing when you are calloused and exhausted and starving and whatever. I'm using an analogy, but you get the idea. And most people can't get to the top. They just don't have the gift of perseverance, as Guy Sensei would say, to Rock Lee. Um, and that's okay. Not everybody's supposed to get it done or follow their dream to the end, whatever, because that really is what separates. But bringing this full circle, Jeff Nimoy did. He made it, he got it done, and it's out there. And that is, as you say, an incredible accomplishment unto itself. It'd be awesome if more eyes were on it and people had seen it and people came up to me at Comic Cons, whether they liked it or not, and said, "Oh my God, I saw Famous." Yeah, so maybe someday, maybe it will tip. Maybe people will start to find it, and maybe it'll play better as a retro film. Like a few
yeah.
years down the path.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
mean, you like we talked, earlier. You made your own series. It didn't do great, and you also I know you made a film about your sister. I
yeah,
haven't seen it, but I knew of it because Tom and Dorothy said, "Oh, you should see if you can find it." But I only could find the trailer for it, and not the full thing.
yeah. It's on
So
Amazon. You can rent it.
okay,
It's awesome. It was on Showtime for 2 years. Yeah, I mean, again, I had very personal experience about climbing those mountains, of those brutal creative mountains. And there was plenty of times I wanted to abandon the children's show that you referenced. We referenced earlier my film about my little sister. I mean, it's grueling. Those processes they're grueling. That said, I finished it. I've been able to celebrate my sister for 10 years now with the film and success. I went on speaking tours. I still get to celebrate my little sister. I still get to continue the theme of everyone being here for a reason, celebrating the individual. Yeah, I mean, all dreams can come true. Everyone should be allowed to at least pursue their dreams. All of those rich themes that I really believe in. Yeah, and if anyone's interested that's listening, it's called Kelly's Hollywood. It's 82 minutes. It's a great reminder why we're here, why we love, why we live. You'll laugh, you'll cry, the whole bit. But yeah, I mean, creative endeavors are not easy, which is why a lot of people don't do them, or they start and then they abandon because it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot, and there's no shortcuts. I mean, people that a lot of people, as you can imagine, ask me about pursuing voice work and hey, what do I need to do and blah blah blah. I'm not kidding you when I say 200 people. I have coached 200 people. Like I'll have the hour-long conversation with friends of friends or whatever, my nephews, cousins, third, whatever. and I'll say, give them my number, have them call me, and I'll talk them through it. And I leave the phone call an hour later saying, send me your demo tape, 90 seconds, just 6 to 10 voices, 2 minutes tops. Produce it, get it going, or send me the rough. I'll listen to it, and if I think it's good, I'll give you notes, or maybe I'll whatever. But if it's great, we get it to a point where it's great, I'll give it to my agent. Three people in 30 years have sent me a demo. That's the difference. It's like you're either the person that's going to send a demo and take advantage of this little door opening, or you're not, and you're going to bail because it's too hard. And that's okay. Like I said, it's okay. I mean, life is hard, but if you have a dream, it is grueling. It's a lot of hard work, and there's very few shortcuts. You just got to do the work. There's a great saying that I love. It's like, what separates the genius from the couch potato? The genius got off the couch. And it's metaphorical, right? But you got to do the work. You got to do the work. There's just no shortcuts. Yeah, that's my little sermon, really. But
that's great, because that's technically what usually the last question is like any great advice or anything you want to share with like your audience or fans. No, like that's like you rolled right into it so perfectly, and I really do thank you for giving us this opportunity, because like for me, I'm trying to build a network of news, interviews, stuff like that.
Yeah.
With Hero Club, when I'm not trying to be maybe a writer or whatnot. But no, it's great doing the journalistic side rather than just trying to pitch a book or pitch a script or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've never actually gotten to that point yet, because I have the issue of, does this feel good enough that I can turn it in before they're like, oh, this is utter crap, take it out of here. Like, I'm at that level where I'm so under my own microscope of, I want it to not look super perfect, but I want it to look presentable enough where I feel confident that it will at least get a yes, and then get the edits later. I'd rather have that happen than be like, get it out of here.
Well, I mean, look, it's great. You never want to. Your first thing should never be, obvious rejection, right? Like you got to be ready. You got to hone your craft, your muscle, make it the best book or manuscript it can be. Absolutely, and that's a great quality. However, the flip side of that is, we scrutinize the death out of it and we never submit. So just be careful of that, because it's a very real thing where it's like we can judge ourselves, etc. But Kubrick had this great thing. It's like a movie is never done; it's only abandoned, right? So art, you could continue art, refine art, keep shaping clay forever, but at some point you got to go. This is the best I got. This is the best I can do. I am giving it to the universe to see what happens, and then take those notes. But just don't keep being your own worst critic, so to speak, of like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. At some point, you got to go, it's the best I can do right now. My wife's going through that process right now because she is a writer. And, she got to a point where her book was the best that she could write. And she had to just trust that this is the best. And, we'll see. And she just started submitting it. And she's gotten quite a few rejections already. And those suck. They hurt.
Yeah.
But it's just part of the process, But yeah, I mean, look, the nuggets are hard work and persevere, lead with a pure heart. And I am a cheerleader for dreams. I really am. I've seen dreams come true, my own, other people's. My film is about dreams and the pursuit of dreams with my little sister, Kelly's Hollywood. And so, yeah, if you have a dream, your audience, whoever, you have to pursue it. And it might not come true, or it might come true part of the way, a little bit of what you had in mind. And that's okay. Usually that's what happens with dreams. They hardly ever look like that beautiful little frame picture.
They're never the full storybook ending. Yeah.
Never. Very rarely. But if you pursue and you give it everything you got, a part of that will come true. I guarantee it, because I'm a big believer in action reaction. And there's going to be some sort of reaction. Again, it might not look exactly like you wanted to or thought it would, but those things lead to other things, like that ripple I talked about. I mean, full circle, that ripple, those ripples that you create in the world, there's energy, those lead to things. They just do. Like this. I mean, this led to you and I talking. I mean,
exactly. No, it's true. Like one of my things was, as a interviewer, was like, I was like, one day I'm gonna interview like a crap ton of people who either worked on like Digimon or just worked on at Fox Kids programming or whatnot, or worked on Japanese, the Japanese side, and I'm doing that.
Yeah.
That's true. You're saying it does eventually, in some shape or form, you get victories, you get achievements. And
Yeah.
I thank you so much for giving me more than the time you allotted. I'm glad to have met you, talked to you, hope to get to meet you at a convention. By the way, do you have any conventions you want to promote that you're going to, or any way that people should follow you on social media?
Well, yeah, thanks. And Wheelz, it's been my pleasure. Seriously, thank you for having me. And I love the title of your show. I'm all about heroes, or trying to be one, or at least trying to be one. Yeah, everybody can find me. Instagram is probably the biggest one that I use the most. I'm old, so even that is doesn't come easy to me. But it's Brian Donovan _1. And I'm holding a baby who's not a baby anymore. He's 10, but one of my kids. And you'll see a bunch of stuff from Comic-Cons and what have you. I do have a couple coming up. I'm doing Riverside, California, Anime Riverside, end of May. And then that following weekend, I'm actually doing Indianapolis, WeebCon in Indianapolis, WeebCon's great. They're usually in Texas, but they're doing one in Indianapolis. That's the first weekend of June. And then I'm doing Kansas City. I think I'm doing New Orleans this year. Where else? It was Minnesota. I'm doing Minneapolis too. So those are the ones on the books right now. So hopefully I'll see you guys somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again. And
yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
If you ever want to come back, just give me a holler.
Yeah, Dynamite. Where are you, Billy? Where do you
I'm
live?
actually in New York, upstate. I'm upstate New York, so I'm like in the Ulster County area, which is funny because Tom and Jeff both know the area pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Buffalo, New York originally, so.
Oh, that's even funnier.
Yeah,
New Yorker. That's
fellow
hilarious.
New Yorker, baby.
All right then.
All right, Billy. All my best, man. Really
all right,
nice.
You too, man. And
Take
we'll
care,
see you
guys.
all next time, people.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching the shows. See you at a Comic-Con soon.